Welcome to today's class. Myself, K. Manjula, Assistant Professor of Physics, Dr. BRR Government Degree College, Jadchalra, Mahabub Nagar East. Today, in this class, let us discuss these contents. Already in the yesterday's class, we have discussed the monochromatic aberrations. In that monochromatic aberration, we have discussed, we completed the that is first type of monochromatic aberration, that is spherical aberration, and arrangement of spherical aberration, removal methods of the spherical aberration, and another method is also there to remove this spherical aberration, that is by using aplanatic lens. So that is continuation of yesterday's class. First discuss about removal method of spherical aberration by using aplanatic lens. Next, another type of monochromatic aberration is coma. What is coma and how it is removable by using this subascending condition. Next, another one is astigmatism. Next, curvature. Next, distortion. Let us know about the removal method of spherical aberration by using aplanatic lens. Here, why it is called as a aplanatic lens means, so that is, here you are observing that is a aplanatic lens is nothing but a spherical lens which is free from the defects of spherical aberration, and as well as the coma is called as aplanatic lens. That is, it may be a complete lens or a part of a lens. That means some part of lens also used as a aplanatic lens. In this figure you are observing, see here, this is you are observing this is a aplanatic lens. In this aplanatic lens, there exists a pair of conjugate points free from spherical aberration and coma. These points are called the aplanatic points. See here, that is P and Q. Here to we have to prove this is a aplanatic lens. That means if we place a object here, see this is r by mu. This is, we placed the object at point P here. That is, the object distance is r by mu. Then the image formed at a distance of this is mu r. If we show that condition, then this lens behaves like a aplanatic lens. So let us show that one. So that is, the image distance must be mu r. So for this purpose, see, this is the C. C is the center of curvature of the lens, and mu here, this is mu. The mu is the refractive index, and capital R, this is here your PC, that is PC is equal to capital R. This is the radius of curvature, and here P is a point on the axis of the lens such that just this is the P. The P is point on the axis of the lens. PC is equal to, that is object distance, is the R by mu. That means it can be shown that all rays passing through this point, these all rays passing through this point appears to diverge through it. Suppose that a light rays incidenting on this one, and they diverge from this Q point here. So that is the irrespective of slope angle made by the incident rays. So we get the image of P at Q. See, that is, PA is the, just observe this figure, PA is the incident ray, this one, PA is the incident ray, and AC is the refracted ray. See, this is this PA, this one, PA is the incident ray, and AC is the refracted ray. The ray, if we extend this ray See here, if we extend this ray, the ray AC appears to be diverged from a point Q, which is the image of the P. So that's what we get, the image of object P on the principal on the principal axis at Q. So this, for that purpose, let us find out the image distance. So for this purpose, these are the, we have to assume what is incident angle. This is the incident angle here, I is the here, and R is the refraction angle here, this one, like this, these preliminary things. Let I and R be the angles of incidence and refraction, and theta 1 theta 2 are the slope angles. We are considering the slope angle that is made by the incident and refracted rays. According to Snell's law, we use then sin I by, the first equation you are observing, sin I by sin R is equal to 1 by mu. So this equation 1 by mu. Similarly, if you see this triangle PAC, in this triangle, what we observe, that is sin I by sin theta 1 must be equal to PC by R. Here PC is nothing but a radius of curvature, and next this R, this is equal to mu R. So that means we are equating these two equations, that is we get that must be equal to second equation, that is same. By equating this again 1 and 2 equation, what we get, that is sin I by sin R is equal to sin I by sin theta 1. Next that means angle theta 1 is equal to angle R, means we are converting this converting means we are knowing about this slope angles in terms of refraction and the incident angle. Similarly, if we take that in that figure only, if we take this triangle APQ, that means angle theta 1 is equal to theta 2 plus R minus I, we can write. Already just now we, that is theta 1 is equal to R, again substituting this one, we get R is equal to theta 2 plus R minus I, or we get that I is equal to theta 2. Similarly, if we take that triangle ACQ, for angle theta 2 can be written sin R by sin theta 2 is equal to QC by AC. Again, therefore sin R by sin I is equal to mu CQ by R. Here theta 2 can be written as I. Therefore QC, image distance, is equal to what we get here, that is mu R. QC is nothing but image distance. That means if we place a object at R by mu of distance, we get the image of mu R. This is the property of the aplanatic lens. Thus, if you are observing this slide, thus if the distance of the object, is R by mu, that is K by naught, this is R by mu from the center of curvature, then the distance of the image point Q is mu R, are independent of the slope angles. We have assumed, we arrived at our derivation by assuming this, by taking consideration of theta 1 and theta 2 slope angles, but these are not depending upon this. So therefore, irrespective of the angles made by the incident rays with the optic axis, after refraction they appear to diverge from a single point Q, which is free from spherical aberration and coma. So as the image and objects are always on the same side of lens, here in that figure you observed that on the same side of the lens we are placing object one side, and the image also we are getting the same side. So that is, therefore the image of the aplanatic lens is always virtual image. So this is the how the aplanatic lens removes the spherical aberration. Next, after understanding that one, what is the use of this aplanatic lens? How we prepare this aplanatic lens? An aplanatic lens is mostly used in as objective of high power microscopes called the oil immersion objective. The object point, because the object is to be placed inside the aplanatic lens, so therefore it is not possible to place that object in it. So to overcome this problem, the lens is grounded. That means the lens is ground a little and object to be examined is placed in between a drop of oil and the lens surface. So the oil can be has some same refractive index of the lens. This is the preparation of the aplanatic lens. So that next, after completing that spherical aberration, let us discuss about the coma, next type of monochromatic aberration. Coma is nothing but a comet. That is, see, in the spherical aberration case, what we learned, that is a lens free from spherical aberration produces a point image of the point object situated on the principal axis. Suppose, that is, the spherical aberration is valid when object is placed on the principal axis. Suppose that this is the lens, this is the object should be in the form of point object, image also in the form of point object. So that is in that like that spherical aberration produces a point image of the point object. But when the point object is situated slightly off from the principal axis, what happens? See here, this is slightly off, this is the object. So when the point object is situated slightly off the axis, the image of the point object formed by the lens is found to have a egg-like shape. So this is egg-like, this is like this, this is egg-like shape, this is or comet shape. This defect in the image is known as a coma due to its shape. So this is the reason when the difference between spherical aberration and coma is nothing but spherical. In the case of spherical aberration, the object is placed in the form of point on the principal axis. But whereas when the object is off from the principal axis, the coma aberration arises. Means image looks like in the shape of comet. So that's what we call this aberration as a coma. Suppose say this is the object. See here. So say this is the consider an off axial point A. This is in the object OA. Here you are observing. Similarly, this lens is divided into so many zones, different zones. So this is first zone, and this is second zone, this is third zone, because so many zones. The zones have different magnifications. So these zones are named by that is 1 zone. See here, this is 1 zone, first one. Next this one is second 1. Next 2, next 3 zone, next 4 zone, like this. So many different zones. We are considering this lens is a group of different zones. These zones are brought to focus at different points. Say this is if the light rays from the object which is placed from the principal axis, the rays which are incidenting on this one, and the first zone, brought to form the image at I1. Say this is I1. Similarly, the rays which are incidenting through the second zone, brought to focus at image I2. Similarly, from third zone I3. Similarly, from like this I1, I2, I3, I4, etc. images, depending upon the different zones, the image is formed. What is the reason for occurring of this coma? because these are the due to the different zones. The different images are formed at different points, say I1, I2, I3, I4. So why here the size of the image decreases gradually? See here, this one, see here. But suppose say the rays here, you are observing this figure, the rays starting from A and passing through these pairs A means this is the A dash image, similarly B dash, similarly C dash and D dash. These points A dash, B dash, C dash lie on a circle called as a chromatic circle. The radius of this chromatic circle, what happens, it increases as the radius of the zone of the lens also increases. So that's what the chromatic circle, this is I1 is the chromatic circle. Next, so the radius of these chromatic circles gradually increases. These are shown in this. See, you are observing in this slide. This is the condition, as this is resulting image due to different zones. So this is the arisement of chroma. Next, that is how we eliminate this chroma. Similarly, first step, that is we have to stop some rays in which are incident from different zones. Only then what happens, only the rays which are incidenting only one zone meet at one point, so that we get only one that is a clear image, but it is not possible. So that is chroma may be reduced to a certain extent by the use of proper stop, place a suitable distance from the lens. This restricts the outer zones and allows only the central zones to refract the rays. Next, this chroma can be minimized by using a crossed lens. Crossed lens means depending upon the radius of curvatures of that lens. If R1 by R2 is equal to minus 1 by 9, then the chroma can be removed. That is. Similarly, another important condition is that Abbe showed that lenses are completely free from spherical aberration and chroma if the following means if this condition, that is mu1 y1 sin theta 1 is equal to mu2 y2 sin theta 2. If the rays obeys this condition, then the lens should be free from the spherical aberration as well as chroma. Let us write here what are these mu1, mu2 and y1, y2 and theta 1. Here theta 1, theta 2 are the angles which the conjugate rays makes with the axis. We now prove this. We will prove this formula now. Just next, mu1 and mu2 are the refractive indices of the object and image planes, and y1 and y2 are the lengths of the object and the image for the zone, that is y1 and y2. And suppose if we consider the medium on both sides is the same, then mu1 mu2 will be same. So that what y1 sin theta 1 is equal to y2 sin theta 2. So y1 by y2 is equal to, if the medium is same on both sides, y1 by y2 is equal to sin theta 1 by sin theta 2. This is y1 by y2. These are the ratio of the heights of the object and the image, represent the lateral magnification. So this is lateral magnification. Next, if the lateral may is the same for all the rays of light, irrespective of angles theta 1, theta 2, then chroma also be eliminated. So that means lateral means y1 by y2 is the same. Then what happens? This sin theta 1 by sin theta 2 is equal to constant. This is also called as a aplanatic lens. So let us prove this Abbe-Chain condition. Abbe-Chain means mu1, that is mu1 y1 sin theta 1 is equal to, that is mu2 y2 sin theta 2 is the Abbe-Chain condition. For this purpose, let us consider a refracting curved surface. Consider a refracting spherical surface AOB. This is the AOB. This one. The radius of curvature is capital R. This one. Similarly, mu1 here, mu1 and mu2 are the refractive indices of left and right side of this surface. Next, PP dash is our object. That is PP dash is placed at the distance of U, object distance from the pole. This from the pole. Next, I, how the image is formed, the rays incident on this refracting surface, it forms the image at here, that is I. So this is I. At I, the image is formed. What is the height of this image? Say that is y2. Here the height of the object is y1. Similarly, u and v are the object distances and image distance. Here see q. Q is at refraction point q. Here I is the incident angle. See. Next R are the, here this is I is the incident angle, R is the refracting angles. Let us consider two triangles, that is PCP dash here, PCP dash and PCP dash and ICI dash. That is, we can get by comparing these heights of images, object and images, y1 by y2 is equal to, here, see, just a minute, here, y1 by y2 is equal to PC by CI. This PC can be written as again the radius of curvature and the object distance, that is R minus U by Ci can be written as V minus R. Here U is taken as a negative because it is opposite to the incidenting of light rays. So U is the negative, V as a positive. Again, by using this Snell's law, here this is the Snell's law, mu1 sin I is equal to mu2 sin R. Next, again if we take that triangle PCQ, we compare this angles and sides, that is sin theta 1 by R is equal to sin pi minus I by R minus U. That sin 180 minus theta is sin I by R minus U. Therefore, sin theta 1 by sin I can be written as R by R minus U. By seeing figure, we can easily understand this step. Similarly, let us consider the another triangle of the from to the image side, that is CIQ. We have that is sin theta 2. We are taking sin theta, the ratio between sin theta 2 by R is equal to sin R by V minus R. Therefore, sin theta 2 by sin R is equal to R by V minus R. See here, sin theta 2 by sin R is equal to, see here, see this, observe this way, sin R can be written as R by V minus R. Similarly, coming to the third equation, sin theta 1 by sin I is equal to R by R minus U. So after getting third and fourth equations, dividing third equation by equation 4, we get this step, that is sin theta 1 by sin I into sin r by sin theta 2 is equal to r by r minus u into v minus r by r. So that v minus r by r get cancelled, v minus r by r minus u. The remaining is sin theta 1 by sin theta 2, and this sin I by sin r by sin I can be written as mu 1 by mu 2 using Snell's law, mu 1 by mu 2. Therefore that must be equal to v minus r by r minus u. Therefore sin theta 1 by sin theta 2 into mu 1 by mu 2, v minus r by r minus u already y2 by y1. So this one by the first equation we can understand that y1 by y2 must be equal to r minus u by v minus r. So on substituting this equation, in this equation, we get sin theta 1 by sin theta 2 into mu 1 by mu 2 is equal to, this can be equal to y2 by y1. By cross multiplication, mu 1 y1 sin theta 1 is equal to mu 2 y2 sin theta 2. Means this is the derivation part of this Abbe-Sein condition. Just by explaining that refracting surface figure, we can easily prove this Abbe-Sein condition. So this is known as the Abbe-Sein condition. Let us know another type of aberration, that is astigmatism. Here the astigmatism, here coming to the introduction, when a point object is situated far off the axis of a lens, the image formed by the lens is not a perfect focus. Okay, the image consists of two mutually perpendicular lines separated by a finite distance. Moreover, these two lines lie in perpendicular planes. This type of aberration is known as a astigmatism. See here, this is the lens system we have taken. This is our lens. This lens has, this is the principal axis. This is the object we have placed off from the principal axis. The plane containing this object and the principal axis is known as the meridian plane. So that this is M1, M2 is the meridian plane. A plane containing a O and the principal axis of this lens. Similarly, another plane, that is meridian, we call meridian plane and sagittal plane. Here two types of plane. By use of these two planes, we can easily explain this astigmatism. So the plane which is perpendicular to the meridian plane is known as the sagittal plane. So S1, S2, this one for this. See here, this is M1, M2. By seeing this figure, we can understand that is M1, M2 is the meridian plane. S perpendicular to this meridian plane, S1, S2 is the sagittal plane. So that is the plane perpendicular to the meridian plane and passing through the principal axis. Okay, these are after considering these two types of planes, that is the plane here. Consider the rays from object, and if this is the object here, the rays which are incidenting on this meridian plane. See here, this is the rays which are incidenting on this meridian plane from the object here. Refraction comes after refraction, they come to a horizontal line focus, that is M. Here this is the meridian image. Okay, the rays comes to the while the rays through the sagittal plane. This is the rays which are incidenting on this sagittal plane comes to focus far point here. This is the sagittal plane. Yes. So this is the condition when the rays incidenting on the meridian plane and sagittal plane. These are forms at a different points. So if we remove, if we move a screen, that is screen between the in this two points, that is meridian image region and a sagittal image region, an irregular patch of light here in this between. The irregular patch of light is obtained. Thus the image never approaches to a point image. So this is the defect is known as a astigmatism. This is the reason for this astigmatism. Suppose if we move that screen in between this meridian image region and sagittal image region, the patch of the light reduces to a circle here. Here the circle reduced to a that is the circle. So this is known as a circle of least confusion. This is somewhat ideal image. This is the nearest approach to a point image. So the difference between the lines, that is meridian line and the sagittal line, measures the astigmatism and the called as a astigmatism difference. So this is the astigmatism difference. Astigmatism aberration. Next, after understanding this astigmatism, how we remove this astigmatism? So same by using the first method is stop. So the astigmatism is due to a large inclination of the rays with the axis of the lens, because due to the alignment of meridian plane and the sagittal plane, the rays are considered to making a large angles with the axis. So therefore, if the rays making large angles with the axis are cut off, the defect can be eliminated. So by using stops, here you are observing in this slide, that is stop, only some rays are allowing through this stop. The rays which are making large inclination are moved by this seen figure. So now only less oblique rays are permitted to form the image. Only this less, these are only this rays. These rays are not pass through this system, through this stop. So stop can be minimize this astigmatism. Similarly, in case of concave lens, astigmatism difference is taken to as negative. Therefore, by using suitable convex and concave lens separated at a suitable distance may be used to reduce this astigmatism also. Suppose if the system contains several lenses, the astigmatism may be eliminated by adjusting their positions. These type of systems are widely used in photographic objectives on which narrow pencils of rays are incidenting at large angles. This is about astigmatism. Next, let us try to understand, that is another aberration, curvature. In the name itself, curvature, we get the image in the curved shape. So even though when the lens, we have already discussed spherical aberration, coma and astigmatism. Even when the lens is free from spherical aberration, the image of an extended plane object, suppose this is object, This is our object. Extended plane object over dash is the image I dash. This is the image of the object over dash. It forms in the shape of curved shape like this. We are getting image like, because if a screen is placed at I perpendicular to the axis of lens, then the image means I here will not be focused, but this is curved. This defect is called as curvature. This arises due to the fact the points away, the distance of from the this center CO is greater than this one CO dash. So these points, if this is the object, the distances from the center varies, so that greater this means these some points of the object which are off from the axis or away from the axis, such as say O or at a O dash, this O dash, or at a greater distance from the center C of the lens than the axial point, this one. So therefore the image I formed at a smaller distance than I. Suppose, see here, this is the image minute. So this I is the image of point O. Sorry, this one. I is the image of the point O, and I dash is the image of, like this. We are getting a curved shape of the object image. Next, let us understand the removal of curvature. The first step, that is, for a single lens, the curvature may be reduced by placing an aperture in a suitable position in front of the lens. This is the well-known thing. Next, another method is, for a combination of lenses, the conditions for options of curvature, there is no curvature, that means sigma 1 by mu f is equal to 0. In case of two lens system, this can be written as mu 1 f1 plus mu 2 f2 is equal to 0. The same meaning, mu 1 mu 2 are the refractive indices and f1 f2 are the focal lengths of these lenses. So this is the one condition. Next, another type of, this is also one type of aberration, that is distortion. The image distortion means some irregular shape of the object. The image of a plane is square-like object. Suppose if we take a square-like object, see, you are observing in this slide, this is a placed perpendicular to the axis of the lens, is not as the same shape. If we place a square type object on the perpendicular to the axis of lens, the lens is not form the same shape of image. It is distorted. This defect is known as a distortion, because this defect arises due to the fact that the same lens produces different magnifications, because our object here, our object is the different parts, this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner. So magnifications are different for different places. So different magnifications are different axial distances. Therefore, different parts of the object suffer from the different magnification. Due to this reason, the object, the image may be distorted. So for this distortion can be of two types, that is barrel shaped distortion that is barrel shaped distortion and pin cushion distortion. Barrel shaped distortion means you are observing in this figure B. This is the barrel shaped distortion. When the real image of a rectangular piece of wire gauze, see A is the our object. See, A is the our object, B is the barrel shaped distortion, this is the pin cushion distortion. Coming to barrel shaped distortion, when the real image of rectangular piece of wire gauze formed on the screen by a convex lens appears like a barrel shape due to the magnification, it is known as a barrel shaped distortion. Similarly, slightly opposite to the pin shaped distortion, pin cushion. When the image of rectangular object formed by the convex lens, this one, this is the pin cushion distortion. In this case, magnification increases with the increasing axial distance from the center. Due to this magnification increases. This one. Next, how we remove this removal of distortion. The distortion can be removed by using a combination of two similar meniscus convex lenses here. Meniscus convex lenses. See here. These are the two meniscus convex lenses with their concave surfaces facing to each other, and placing an aperture stop in the middle. This is the aperture stop. So such a combination is known as a orthoscopic doublet or a rapid rectilinear lens. By using this system, we can remove this distortion, because distortion arises due to the different magnifications for different regions of our object which is in the rectangular shape. So for that purpose, our elimination system also concave shaped like this. So this is the method how to remove this distortion. So totally we have completed the types of aberration, that is monochromatic aberrations, that is the spherical aberration and coma, astigmatism, curvature and distortion. This is today's class. Let us recall what we have learnt in this class. Revise. So that is a continuation of yesterday's class. We have discussed the removal method of spherical aberration by using aplanatic lens. This is the aplanatic lens. Aplanatic lens is nothing but which is free from the defects of spherical aberration and coma. The property of this aplanatic lens is nothing but if we place the object at a distance of r by mu, it forms the image. It forms the image at mu r distance. This is the proof of this one. This you just correct this one. This is not k by mu, this is r by mu. So, means if the distance of the object p is r by mu from the center of curvature, then the distance of image point q is mu r, or independent of the slope angles theta 1 and theta 2. So therefore, irrespective of the angles made by the incident rays with the optic axis, after refraction appear to diverge from a single point q, which is free from spherical aberration and coma. So this is the principle of aplanatic surface, and mainly this aplanatic lens is used in high power microscopes called the oil immersion objective. This is important thing here. The objective point lies inside the aplanatic lens. Hence, it is not possible to place an object. Suppose this is a aplanatic lens, we have to ground the a little, and an object is to be examined, is placed in between the drop of oil and the lens surface. So, by this is the use of this aplanatic lens. Next, coma aberration. This is coma arises when the object is slightly off from the axis. So, when the point object is situated slightly off the axis, the image of the point object formed by the lens is found to have egg-like shape or comet shape. This is known as coma. The coma arises due to the incident of object, the rays which are coming from the object incidenting on different zones of this lens. Means lens is considered to be a group of different zones, that is 1 1, 2 2, 3 3, like the rays which are incidenting on this 1 1 zone forms the image at I1. The rays which are incidenting on this 2 2 zone forms the image at I2, I3, like this. This radius of these circles gradually increases, so the image looks like a coma, that is comet. So this is termed as a coma aberration. Next, coma can be eliminated by using stops and crossed lens of R1 by the, which for R1 R by R2 is equal to minus 1 by 9. This is another important condition, that is a Bessine condition, that is mu1 y1 sin theta 1 is equal to mu2 y2 sin theta 2. Here y1 y2 are the heights of the object and images, mu1 mu2 refractive indices, theta 1 theta 2 are the angles which the conjugate rays makes with the axis. If medium is same, the equation may be may be written as y1 by y2 is equal to sin theta 1 by sin theta 2. If the magnification is same, that is y1 by y2 is same, then this equation can be written as sin theta 1 by sin theta 2 is equal to constant. This is aplanatic. Next, this is the proof of a Bessine condition. Just we have taken a refracted surface of lens, that is this is the PP dash is our object, and IA dash is our image, formation of this image. Y1 y2 are the heights of the object and images, u v are the object distance, and ev is the image distance, I is the incident angle, r is the refraction angle, r is the capital R is the radius of curvature, mu1 mu2 are the refractive indices of the both sides, left side and right side of this curvature. To prove this one, just take these two triangles PCP dash here, this PCP dash here, you are observing in this slide PCP dash and ICI dash, this small 2 here. Only considering these two types of triangles we can derive this one PCP dash and ICI dash. So, by comparing these sides, that is y1 by y2 is equal to PC by PC by CI is equal to R minus U by V minus R. Again, Snell's law, by using Snell's law, mu1 sin I is equal to mu2 sin R. By taking sin law in this PCQ, we are applying sin's law. This can be written as sin theta 1 by R is equal to sin pi minus I by R minus U. This is all mathematical part. Just after applying this all, we finally get this equation, that is mu1 y1 sin theta 1 is equal to mu2 y2 sin theta 2. Next, another type of aberration, astigmatism. Astigmatism arises due to the two different the incident rays incidenting on two different planes, that is one is meridian plane and another is sagittal plane. Meridian, the rays which are incidenting on this meridian plane forms the meridian image at M, which is nearer to the lens, and the rays which are incidenting on the sagittal plane, the plane which is perpendicular to the meridian plane, is called sagittal plane. Means the our lens is considered to be a different zones in this inner structure of this lens we are considering. So the rays which are incidenting on this sagittal plane meet at a fairer point from the lens and forms the image at S, that is sagittal image. If we move a screen in between these two images, meridian and sagittal, we get a, that is circle. The this when the screen is moved between S and M, the patch of the light which is already there, that is with the patch of the light reduces to a circle shown by C here. This one, see, you are observing this is called as a circle of least confusion. So removal of astigmatism by using these slits, we can remove this astigmatism by combination of two lenses for using several lenses, which is used in photographic objective. And another one is curvature. This is the curvature aberration, that is the image is in the form of curved shape, that is because the distances varies from the center of this lens to the different points of the object. To remove this curvature by placing the aperture in a suitable position in front of the lens also, and for a combination of lenses, this is a Parseval condition, that is mu1 f1 is plus mu2 f2 is equal to 0 by using this condition. Next, another aberration, distortion. The image is distorted, so due to the different magnification in the object. So if the object is in the shape of a rectangular shape, then the distortion of the image is formed. These are two in types, that is, these are in two types, that is barrel shaped distortion, pin cushion distortion. Barrel shaped distortion here in this B figure shows this barrel shaped distortion, and C is the pin shaped distortion, because in this case the magnification increases with the increasing axial distance from the center. Here from this center, axial distance increases, so we get these two types of images. This is about today's class. Almost all types of aberrations we have completed, and I think this aberration chapter is completed. So first that is chromatic aberration, that is our sequence study of this lesson is, that is arrangement of aberrations, and two types of aberrations. When white light is used, chromatic aberrations arise, and if we use monochromatic light, monochromatic aberration, that is depends upon the optical system. So these are what is chromatic aberration, and how we remove that chromatic aberration. Next, this is the monochromatic aberrations, spherical aberration removal methods we have completed, and that is coma, astigmatism, curvature, distortion. This is the Yes, and some conditions, Bayesian condition for coma, Wedgwood condition for this curvature, like this we have already derived this equation. So this is today's class.